I hope you're doing well, and your projects are too. This week I've decided to do a review of recent projects completed over the last few months. I have put considerable effort into modeling and trying to take my skills to the next level. There was the London Underground cable racking project. Since I very much enjoy working with styrene, I've discovered, particularly I enjoyed the London Underground cable racking project, it made me want to try something else. So I thought, and pretty soon I decided, well, a bridge would be fun. I like bridges. And I considered various types of bridges, including maybe a suspension bridge, but that doesn't seem appropriate for trains to be going over suspension bridges. They're quite flexible. I don't know if you've ever been out on one, but I mean, it's intended to move. It's not it moves too much. No, it wasn't like that at all. They expected it to move. They planned for it to move. It's built into it. Anyway, so I decided I wanted to build a bridge. And I decided a truss bridge would be a good type of bridge, particularly good for fabricating in styrene plastic shapes. Shapes that mimic steel shapes, by the way. They talk about shapes. Well, they got I-beams and they've got angles and they've got bars and so on. So anything you can build with iron or steel, you can build with styrene these days. One of the things I learned or started to learn when I was working on the London Underground project was that it's best not to work too long at it. It's best to just confine yourself to a couple hours or 3 hours or so and then stop and wait till the next day and continue on. Because I'm the type of person, at least it is for me, I'm the type of person that once I get into something, I want to get it done. So I just go and go and go and go until my body and mind are completely racked. And it takes me, well, as I'm aging, it takes longer and longer for me to recover. When I was young, I could recover easily. I could recover overnight, but not so much anymore. So once I decided on a bridge, what kind of bridge? Well, truss bridge. I wanted to build a truss bridge. And I put a poll up on my community page of the YouTube home site for Farland Howe and let people vote on whether they wanted the straight truss or a curved truss. And I had more votes for a curved truss, so that's what I built. I was actually personally more interested in the curved truss than the straight truss anyway, because it has a curve. It's more interesting. It's like doors, Well, what's more interesting, a door that's closed or a door that's open? Well, doors that are open slightly are always more interesting. So what's back there, I came up with a design for the truss bridge and built it. And then, of course, I needed a place to put it, and I knew approximately where I wanted it to go. But that required cutting out a chunk of the bench work and leaving an open space of the correct dimension to put the bridge into, which I did. And once that was done, then I had to reconstruct the terrain underneath the bridge. I had to cut out a whole wall of terrain that I had built for the previous arrangement and extend the depression or valley or gorge, whatever it is, on beyond where the new bridge is, which I did. And most of you haven't seen that. There's been a few pictures on Facebook and a few other places of it, but we're going to take a good hard look at it. Let's go ahead and we'll take a look at revisit the London Underground section. And when we get that done, we'll come over and have a look at the new bridge area. Be right back. The drooping cable, that's not to suggest that that's standard practice. I added that just as a kind of a point of interest. There are places where cables droop. Not very many, but I did see a couple of places where they droop. Not to this extent. But I just thought it would be interesting to have some cables that were kind of looked out of place compared to the rest of them. So I put a drooping, poorly laid cable on there. Perhaps it's just been installed and they're getting ready to tighten it up. Who knows? The styrene really worked well for this project. And if you're not familiar with how it was built, there is a couple of videos that detail how it was constructed. After the cabling project was completed, well, let's move down a little bit. I decided to try my hand at creating some of these traction current disconnect boxes. I would call them boxes. Cabinets, boxes, stations, not sure what they're called, but I saw them in photographs and I was intrigued with them. It's a means to disconnect the power from the center rail and the outside rail, the third rail and the fourth rail. And it has to be disconnected from both ends because otherwise you could get, there's a possibility of somebody getting a nasty shock. Anyway, they disconnect them from both ends. So I displayed them. There are two sets. There's this set down here, and up by my level crossing, there's another set. I'm not going to show you those right now. You'll probably see them if you watch this channel for a while. But these represent those cabinets, boxes, disconnect boxes. I will show you the other side. One side is black for negative, and the other one is red for positive. At the moment, I can't remember which rail is negative and which is positive. One is charged with a positive 430 volts, I think, or 410, something like that. And the other one is charged with a negative charge of 200 and something volts, so that together they yield the 630 volt DC power that the London Underground trains run on. Moving right along, this is the way it turned out. So this depression, gorge, valley thing starts over here, and there's a little drainage down the middle of it, coming from Hanging Lake, and then it continues. When the glaciers melted over Britain, the rushing water formed this channel. However, as the glaciers melted, the weight on the land reduced and the land rose. So this gully, valley, etc., doesn't have water in it now, except what comes out from the spring that feeds Hanging Lake. Okay, trees. They're hard to see. This is green on a green background. But there's the tree that was to be the crabapple. And its trunk is way too big. And then over here is the little oak tree. Both were built from photographs that I found online. The oak tree is very nearly a perfect copy of the picture that I had as a reference. The crabapple tree, not so much. The trunk is much too thick. Had it been about 2/3 as tall and the trunk a skinny little thing, it would have been all right. I'll take you around to the other side of the bridge and we'll get a look at it from that side too. Of course, there are these views through the arches. Kind of a framed portrait of the little oak tree. And now we're on the other side. That's a little hard to see, but there's the arched bridge. And then the other truss bridge. The big truss bridge. And underneath the bridge. I tried something different. I used one of my rock molds and I laid the rock down instead of vertically. I do have rocks. That was salvaged from the old depression wall, as was the one on the other end. Two different rock molds, but they sort of give a substance to what the bridge is sitting on. Or I think so. So I'm quite pleased with how this all turned out. It's a little tight here. There is a wall right here. So I can't back away from it very far. I can only shoot it from angles. If you're wondering what the old piers are, well, in the very early days, when they bridged this depression, the track came across at an angle and down to Farcliffe Beach. It was more of a branch line. In later years, when the harbor became important, the tracks became through tracks.